Okay, let's do a quick recap. So we started off with this little start.js file that's using Figlet. So node, which is start.js. So we change it so that it reliably calls all the callbacks in a certain order. So what we actually would love to do is be able to, instead of doing using callbacks, we want this thing to be using promises. So the thing, or not promises, async await. That will make the code so much cleaner. So in this case, what we want to do something like this. We want to say Figlet callbacks, and then we want to just kind of say create a function here. Let's create a function. We call it start. And then what we want to do is we want to do something like this. We want to say so async start, and then we want to do something like this actually. So and then we want to say this is, we want to do await, and then we want to say const, let's say result. So we want to do something like this, and now what we want to be doing is do console.log result. So doing that, we're calling async await, we're calling Figlet, and then things are, so let's run that. See, nothing is now being returned. So that's a bit weird. So what we want to do is, that's happening, okay, nothing's happening because Figlet doesn't actually return promises. So what we want to do instead is we want to use a version which is something called Figlet's promised, which is a version of Figlet that returns promises. So now if I run the code again, learn about, so in this case, Figlet's promise, result, await. Okay, never calling start actually. So in this case, so let's just do one step back. So when I'm doing something like this, Figlet, Control Z, and I just use normal Figlet, see what happens. Okay, so next is not a function. It's basically telling me, okay, this thing is not a promise by the looks of it. So if I go do this, promised, so I use a promise version of Figlet, I run the code, so now that is actually working. So now I want to do what I've done in the past. We've done this blue on whack, do that thing where we're using chalk, so we do something like that, and now we're running that. Okay, callbacks. Okay, so that's working now because we're now using Figlet's promise, a version of Figlet that's actually returning the promises. So now I can go ahead and I can do this for the same of all of them. So in this one I can say const result 2 is await, and then I can copy this text that I had here before, and then now I do result 2, and then I can keep on doing that. So now I want to call this on this one, then I can say const result 3 equals that. So now I run that, and then I just say I'm going to copy this line that I had here, Control V, and then I can put this one here, should be result 3. So now I run this. So the interesting thing you'll note, if I run this, you'll see running this. Okay, so the last one I'm not putting, I didn't have a await, so I didn't run through. Await. Okay, so we run that. Okay, and the interesting thing you'll see that it's still printing let's learn about thing up here, but ultimately this method is still asynchronous. This thing is not blocking. So this method is actually running this code and it's not blocking, and it's printing this above the methods up here. So if I run this thing is still being printed up here because it's not blocking. So what we can do, if we want this thing to print above it, what we can obviously do is we can move it up here. I mean in our case. So yeah, so ultimately now you can see that I can change my initial function using async await, and then the actual logic flows easier. It's much easier to read than the original version that was using callbacks. But the important thing is I needed a version of the library that support promises for this to work. So if you want to use promises or async await in your own code, you need to make sure the library that you're using is actually using async await.